And can I just give you a word of encouragement? The fact that you're even listening or watching at this point in time means you're a person who wants to grow. That means you already are above average intelligence. You're smart people. And if you could figure it out by yourself, you would have already figured it out. One of the things I really love doing, although I'm not a senior pastor anymore, I go to church, and I was asked to help with a young married couples class. And so I got to teach a portion of the classes, and I can still remember, they're all kind of different. A few months here, a couple years there, 2 weeks over there, just young married, zealous. Everyone still has that euphoric, ooh, isn't it great to be in love? And so I started one of the classes, and I said something very matter of fact. I said, all of you, every one of you in this room, will at some point in your marriage struggle with roles, money, in-laws, and sex. And I kind of paused, and I looked around the room, and it wasn't audible, but it was like, a gasp, like, what, and the others were like, they leaned back and gave you that, I can see other people with those kind of issues, but looking at each other with these goo-goo eyes, like, that could never be a problem for us. I assured them that no matter how much they loved each other, that at some point in time, they're going to have conflict and probably arguments about roles. Who does what, and how often, and who takes care of this, and who takes care of that. And they'll actually have conversations that will go around like, hey, why didn't you fill up my car with gas, dear? And you think, well, because it's not my car. And then you find out that, in my case, well, her dad always filled up the car with gas. That's what men do. Well, they didn't do that at my house. My dad couldn't even change the oil. And, it sounds funny now, but whether it's family of origin issues or discovering who should do what or when, or coming to some convictions about what does the Bible teach about some big fundamental roles, and then how's that going to work out in our relationship with our gifts? And, how do we handle the finances, and who owns which part of it, or how do we stay on top of it together? Those are just realities of two people living their lives and come together and they become one. And so roles are going to be an issue. I mean, we can laugh about who takes the garbage out, but I got news. Someone has to take the garbage out. Now, that's one big job, of course, but who puts it out on the curb might be another one. And I'm teasing, but these are the kind of things that cause conflict. Or things like in-laws, right? The first Thanksgiving comes up, and there's just this, well, we're going to my parents because, what do you mean, your parents? My parents want us to come there. Well, oh man, we can't do that. If we don't go to my parents, they'll be so disappointed and so hurt. And so, who's going to tell which parent? And then pretty soon there's a big argument about that. And then we try the every other year plan, and it doesn't matter what you do. And see, the issue is not in-laws. The issue is about loyalty. The issue is about expectations. The issue later becomes about boundaries. And so you're going to argue about in-law issues because at some point in time, if your mate seems to be putting her family ahead of your relationship, you've got a problem. If there's a chance that some things are happening where, they're encroaching on your marriage or on how you're raising your children, and you have to set some boundaries up, those are tough conversations. Those were some of the hardest that I had to have with especially Teresa's father. Or think about the issue of money. I mean, if you don't think you're going to have some conflicts over money, but it's never really about money. See, it's about values and priorities. I mean, we have so much money. What are we going to spend it on? All I'm trying to get to is that money, roles, in-laws, and sex, you're always going to have, at some stage in your marriage, conflict, difficulty, in fact, even get stuck. Some will come out of a promiscuous background and really struggle with some past memories or issues they've had, or others come from maybe a real holiness background and literally think sex is bad. There's all kind of issues there, and at the core is communication, and at the core is understanding what God says. For others, they've got this secularized Hollywood view of sex and thinks it's all about some experience, and that's what matters versus how do you cherish and serve your mate. Well, having this kind of conversations are few and far between with the most open couples. And so if sex and roles and money and in-laws at different seasons are going to be major problems, guess what? You get stuck. What do you mean? I mean, you argue about them, you bury them, they come up, and you keep going round and round, and over time they build resentment, and you have a problem, and problems cause division, and division causes problems in a marriage. So what do? Well, a lot of couples just hunker down. Well, we'll just get through this, or they bury it, and then resentment grows. But if you're a baseball fan, what do you know about every baseball player? The greatest hitters of all time always have what? They have a slump. I mean, they can't figure it out. I mean, you know what? I've been batting .325 for years and, 45 home runs. And man, the season's 2 months in, I'm batting .128. Something's wrong. Well, what do? They watch film and then they get a, ready? Coach, an older player, mentor. And they say, I don't know what's going on. I know I'm a good hitter, but something's wrong. If you find a businessman who's been very, very successful and has a bad quarter, and then another quarter, he might realize, you know what? I thought I knew this business. Maybe I need an executive coach. Lie number 9 of what kills and destroys marriages is this. Getting help for our marriage from a counselor or a mentor is for, are you ready? Losers. We should be able to figure this out on our own. And besides, we don't want to broadcast our problems to everyone around the world. We don't need outside help. The underlying message is being vulnerable is scary. And I'm afraid I might get found out. Being vulnerable is scary. And I'm afraid. And that can be the man, that can be the woman, that can be both of you. If we invite someone into this relationship, we're going to get exposed. And what's behind the fear of exposure is our pride. Here's the truth. Every great athlete, artist, and business executive knows the value of a coach. We all get stuck on occasion, and we need help to work through these issues we can't see for ourselves. That's the truth. Now, sometimes that's an older friend. There was probably not a church that we ever served in that we didn't find an older couple or two that we felt like they're 10 years, maybe 15 years down the road, and we're going to become friends with them because I don't know what that decade looks like, but they look like they came through it pretty well. I want to hang out with someone that I can say, hey, how did you go through your 50s? Or later, how did you go through your 60s? Or, you know what, our kids they're going away to school and the empty nest is coming, and how did you guys negotiate that? At other times, it's a little more formal. Maybe you meet with one of your pastors, or maybe your small group leader's a gifted facilitator, or maybe it's a really, really biblical Christian therapist. And you just say, we're stuck. And can I just give you a word of encouragement? The fact that you're even listening or watching at this point in time means you're a person who wants to grow. That means you already are above average intelligence. You're smart people. And if you could figure it out by yourself, you would have already figured it out. But you can get stuck. And unfortunately, if you stay stuck, the problems don't get better. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. And over time, pretty soon, the problem isn't just the problem. The problem is them. It's your husband. The problem is them. It's your wife. It's the way he always is. It's the way she always is. And you begin to create a world where you start to label and blame your mate in ways that are really negative, and it's hard to get out of. My personal issue when we got stuck was that I was proud. I visualized, I'm in seminary. I've already been to graduate school. I majored in psychology in undergraduate. I've led a ministry. I've helped other people with their problems. We did our marriage, our dating God's way. We should figure this out. And the picture, literally, I had in my mind was, I'm going to walk in to some counseling area, and as I'm sitting out there in the waiting room, someone I know is going to walk in. And they're going to walk in, and they're going to look at me, and they go, wow, I didn't know you had such big problems that you needed a counselor. And I'm going to go, no. And the truth is, are you ready? Set? Okay, go. I had such big problems, I really needed a counselor. I think I have at least average to above average intelligence, and my wife, certainly, she's a smart lady. Well, we couldn't figure it out. We got stuck. The greatest step we ever took was going to counseling. Now, back then, we got the student rate, which was really good, $90 an hour. Now, in today's money, that's about $5,000, right? That was like 40 years ago, $90 an hour. And I'm making $1,000 a month, working full-time, going to school full-time. It is the best $90 a week for 12 weeks I spent that I did not have in my whole life. And I don't believe in going to debt, but I went into debt on this one because I didn't have the money. And I thought, if my marriage doesn't work, well, I can't be a pastor. I don't have anything to say. And so that $90 taught us how to communicate. That $90 helped my wife and I both realize we're both insecure, we're both afraid, we both have baggage, and here is the beauty. I got to listen to my wife tell someone what some issues and problems and struggles were that I never heard in my life. And I got to share some things that I would have probably liked to say to her that I didn't have the courage to say, that I could talk to this guy. He was just a nice guy and a wise guy. And my wife could eavesdrop and realize, wow, Chip's really hurting. He's really struggling. What I received out of that experience was compassion from my wife. And what I gained was understanding about, oh, she's not doing this to make me crazy. She's doing this because, oh, that's how she grew up. That's how she was treated before. That's what she fears. I just can't encourage you enough. Do not believe this lie that getting help for your marriage from a counselor or a mentor is for losers. The fact is, every great athlete, artist, and business executive knows the value of a coach. I'll repeat it. We all get stuck on occasion, and we need help to work through the issues that we can't see for ourselves. My passage for this one is 1 Peter 5:5. In the same way, you who are younger, submit yourselves to your elders. And all of you, are you ready? Clothe yourselves with humility toward one another, because God is opposed to the proud, but He shows favor to the humble. It was in humbling myself that I experienced God's favor, and our marriage got restored. It was work, but God did it. And He did it because I refused to believe at some point in time, and my wife refused to believe that we could do it on our own. Now, if things aren't resolved, and especially if you don't get outside help, it can lead to misbelief number 10 and number 11. And these are when you go from having problems with an issue to having problems with the person. And there's a difference. Lots of people have issues in their marriage, but unresolved issues, and you get stuck over time, you shift to blaming the other person, and then you shift from not only blaming, but you assign motives. Not only is your husband that way, but the reason he does that is X, Y, and Z. Not only is your wife that way, but the reason she does it is X, Y, and Z. And then you play these tapes in your head, these fantasy tapes of, well, she only cares about this or that, or he only cares about this or that. And if she really loved me, if he really loved me, then. And you nurse these, and you feed them, and you fantasize, and you put up with stuff, and you bury it. And if you bury it deep enough, you get depressed. If you bury it for a while and then there's a spark, you explode. And then pretty soon, if you're not careful, you can find yourself living these parallel lives where you go and find your fulfillment in some area and your mate goes and finds her fulfillment in some area, and you agree around money or work or kids, or are you ready? Sometimes ministry, and you do this parallel life thing, and it breaks Jesus' heart because he made us to become one and to grow in intimacy. And so misbelief number 10 is a wife's misbelief. And this is what some women down deep in their heart, or they say to another girlfriend, all he cares about is work and sports. I feel like I'm left to do all the work of raising our kids and taking care of our home. I wonder sometimes if he even cares. Ladies, honestly, right now, does that come to my mind? You know, all he's asking is, what team is playing? Are the guys coming over? Right? Are we going to tailgate? Well, I'm sorry, I'd like to help out, but I got to work. Comes home and eats, goes into his office, gets up early, leaves before the kids are up. Feel like you're alone? Notice this misbelief. It assumes you know what he really cares about. Now, of course, his behavior is a lot of work and sports, but all he cares about, that's the lie, is work and sports. Notice this, I feel like I'm left to do all the work raising the kids and taking care of our home. Underlying message, I feel neglected. I feel unimportant. I feel, are you ready? Rejected. I wonder. I really begin to question, does he still love me? And that goes to other darker places like, am I still attractive? Am I still lovable? Am I worthwhile? And those things begin to create a lot of things in a woman's heart and life that lead to a very dark place. Here's the truth. Men default to areas where they feel comfortable. Are you ready? Your husband has fears and insecurities about being a spiritual leader and an effective father. Criticism and disrespect will heighten those fears and push him away. Do you get it? Do you see how you can assign motives, but just the opposite may be true? Men, here's the key. They default to where since I'm a man, to where we feel comfortable. Let me go back to a little time prior to our counseling. Okay, I'm married. I've never been married before, but I marry someone who has been married before. You think in the back of my mind, I'm thinking there might be some comparison here, and I may not be very good at being married. Think of every aspect. Well, we've been married about 6 months, and guess what? I'm a father. I don't have a clue. So I know I'm not a good father. In fact, I'm inept. I'm inadequate. I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, so much so that later on in seminary, I wrote my thesis on the role and responsibility of the father in the family, mostly because I needed it desperately, and I thought, I better figure this out somehow. In addition, I'm in seminary. I have a really good memory. I don't know that I'm all that smart, but I got an amazing memory. And so I always did really well in school. So I'd been to college, I'd been to graduate school, I did really, really well. And now they dropped me in this place called seminary. I mean, the first week, Christology, well, I guess that's about Christ, pneumatology, eschatology. Man, there's all these words. What in the world are these people talking about? And they've been to Bible school, and they know this, and they know that, and then the first day in Greek is this, and then you go to a Hebrew class, and by the way, it's good to have you gentlemen read these 1,500 pages by 2 weeks. I mean, I was so overwhelmed, and for the first time in my, quote, educational life, I felt like I'm not sure I can make it here. So I'm afraid that I'm not going to be a good husband, or I'm not. I know I'm not a good father. I now understand that where I used to be good in terms of being a student, I'm really struggling. And I've got this whole new world of I need to hold down a job and make money and go to seminary. You know what basketball was for me? Basketball, I learned from that counselor was, you know what? I was good. I mean, I'm not very big, but I practiced like crazy. I played against Olympic teams. And when I saw a group of guys, that was sort of my world, on chain link fence, and everybody's playing out there. And when I got out there, it was like, oh my, Whew! Oh, I know who I am now. Guys, get me the ball in the middle. Let's go. I got next on. And I mean, it was rewarding. It was affirming. I found a little window of a place that made me feel okay about me. And what I learned from that counselor was to help me see that I was afraid, and that was normal, that it's okay not to be a good husband and you kind of get the job about 4 or 5 years in. It's okay if you have 2 jobs and you're afraid that you may not be able to support your family. Those are normal emotions. And as I shared those things, guess what? I looked over and I've got this wife with tears coming down her eyes, compassionate. She was concerned about me. But what I presented was, why are you messing with me? All I want to do is play a little bit of basketball. What I was really hiding from was all my fears and all my insecurities and all my struggles that I did not know how to communicate, nor did she know how to get it out of me. Lie number 10, all he cares about is work and sports. That wasn't true at all. Those were just the only 2 places where I felt like I could be successful. Here's the verse, 1 Peter 3, 1 and 2. Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without a word by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and the reverence of your lives. My world changed when my wife was compassionate and kind and understanding and created a safe place for my inadequacies and my fears and my insecurities. But that was just the opposite of hands on her hips. All he cares about is work and sports. The fact of the matter was, I defaulted, like most men do, to areas where we're confident. And that tends to be our work or sports or computers or whatever it is that makes us as a man feel like we're in control, we know what we're doing, and so we run there and we hide there. Is it good? No, but you need as a wife to understand that's the truth. And husbands, you have a very similar misbelief. The misbelief for husbands is lie number 11. It goes something like this. All my wife cares about is the kids and the calendar. Our sex life is on life support because she's always tired or making excuses. Sometimes I wonder if she even cares. Sound familiar, guys? Right? You come home. What about the kids? We got to do this. We got to get shoes. We got to go shopping. Oh, we're late. Everybody go. Get in the car. Get in the van. Okay, we got to go here, go there. Hey, honey, what about, I'm sorry, that's not really on the calendar right now. We've got to do this. We've got to plan this. We've got to busy, go. The underlying message as a man is I feel rejected and I feel unimportant. And so what do? You assign motives and you assign blame. And if you want to get set up for an affair, if you want to get set up for destroying your marriage, set up for destroying your kids' lives, your future, perhaps your job, and a lot of other things that go with it, and believe me, I've been on the other side of some of the most successful people who have wonderful wives and amazing kids who have a season, right? Can I tell you something? This happens in seasons. Sometimes it's right after that baby comes. I don't know how many young men have finally conceded. I feel so guilty. I said, what do you feel so guilty about? I mean, it was just the 2 of us. And we had this great marriage. It was really wonderful. And then this baby came. And I mean, it was awesome. And it's cute. And I held it and she held it. And we get up at night together and we share everything. And it's wonderful. I mean, that was good for 3 or 4 months. But now it's baby. I don't think she knows I exist. I mean, children are great, but I want to be number 1. And at the same time, I mean, our intimacy is gone. She's preoccupied. Her whole world is wrapped up in that child. And you got a little attention at the gym. Or the barista sure is cute at the coffee shop. Or there's a coworker that is kindly asking about how are things at home and is everything okay? You seem a little down. And you start sharing with someone else other than your wife some of your struggles, and they sure seem accepting. And you never, ever dreamed or planned on being one of those statistics. I just can't tell you how many times I've sat across the table from a godly man that in a weak moment who allowed this misbelief to rattle around in his head and then into his heart, where he thought all my wife cares about is the kids or the calendar or what's going on at church. The truth is, women default to areas where they feel confident. Your wife has fears and insecurities about her value, her identity, and her physical attractiveness. Sarcasm about sex, her looks, or preoccupation with the kids will only reinforce her feelings of inadequacy, and they will drive her away. Now, in that counseling session, and by the way, I've had to learn this and then relearn it with different seasons. Please don't hear me saying, I had 12 sessions and man, it's been great and no problems ever since. No, I got 12 sessions that helped me discover how much help I needed, where we needed to go, and we've been learning ever since. And if I could be so bold, there's been seasons since then. Are you ready? We've been stuck. You mean you got stuck even while you were pastoring like a really large church? Yes. You mean you got stuck in the empty nest when the whole world changed and seasons changed? Yep. And what did you do? Well, I talked to mentors and coaches. I talked to friends, and on a couple occasions, I know a guy who's an amazing biblical counselor. And I said, you know something? Teresa and I have been working through this for a few months, and we're just kind of butting heads. You think you could meet with us 2 or 3 times and help us kind of get some perspective? Sure, Chip, be glad to. Now, it's more like $200 these days, which is crazy. But it's only crazy if you don't know what's really important. It's the best money I've ever spent. Pretty soon, you're off to the races and you're making progress. The verse here is Ephesians 5:28 and 29. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own body. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but they feed and care for their body, just as Christ does the church. See, what I learned was that my wife growing up, when she was going through a rough time, she would go out by herself and play her guitar, and she's an introvert, and she would just get alone all by herself because that's her safe space. And what I learned was that, you know what? She went through a very painful rejection at home and then another one in a marriage when her husband ran off with another woman. So in our conflicts, she's thinking, I may be failing as a wife. This could be happening again. She's feeling, you know, I don't fit into the seminary crowd. All these people have all this education and, Chip's in a different world. And someday are we going to drift apart? She focused what? On our children and on other areas. Why? Because that's where she was comfortable. And what I learned was when I heard she was as afraid and hurting and as insecure as me in some areas, and I got to hear that, guess what? I had compassion. I thought, oh, it's not just she only cares about the kids, it's that she's hiding there because that feels safe. Can I encourage you, if you need some help to get unstuck, that you make a phone call today to a friend, a mentor, a pastor, or a Christian biblical therapist and talk to your mate and say, you know something? We're both smart people. If we could figure this out, we would have done it by now. Why don't we go to counseling? And if for any reason this has gone a bit too far and they won't go, you go by yourself. Because once you change, the whole system changes. I just feel compelled, Lord, would you please speak powerfully to those that are stuck and that are hurting. And part of what I shared is just, it's like I'm reading their mail and I know what's going on inside their home. And the fact is, you know what's going on and you want to help them. Would you give them the grace to take that step and to get some outside help? In Jesus' name, amen.